And good morning and welcome. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and publisher of What's Up Noop, and we are continuing our conversations with the candidates today. And we have been focusing a little bit of everywhere this week, but we are on Portsmouth, and we are on Portsmouth Town Council as well as Portsmouth School Committee. There are 12 candidates running for Portsmouth Town Council, and we have had conversations or are having conversations with at least 7 of them this week. You can find our full schedule on whatsupnoop.com, as well as all of the videos and podcasts of each conversation. Joining us today is incumbent Keith Hamilton. Keith, how are you?
I am well, Ryan. How you doing?
Good. I was saying when we joined, we got to find time to do this more than every 2 years.
I'm happy to come on anytime you want to do something.
That's it. You are an incumbent for those who might just be catching on with what's going on in Portsmouth. In Portsmouth also, they have, they tie themselves to Democrat or Republican. You are the Republican on the town council. There are 12 candidates running for 7 seats in Portsmouth. What do you think of the last couple of years?
Well, the last couple of years, obviously, have been a struggle with COVID. In 2020, we had 8 people running for 7 spots. It's nice to have more people engaged. Having 12 candidates is a great showing. And I think in the past we've had up to 17 or 18. It's been tough. We've had a lot of different conversations over the past 2 years between the senior center, the school bond. We've had a new issue come up with the location of a wind turbine cable up the Seconic River going through Portsmouth or around Aquidneck Island. Who knows? So there's a lot of issues that are going on. Obviously, the economy hits everybody and hits the town. So it's been a fun 2 years, or in my case, a fun 14 years.
There you go. I was just going to ask you, how long have you been on now? You've done 14 straight?
14 straight since 2008, my friend.
What made you back earlier this year or prior to that decide that you wanted to do another 2 years?
I actually enjoy the job. I enjoy the interaction with the people. I enjoy going through the budget, going through the numbers to make sure things fit. I like trying to hold people accountable as best as possible. You know, one of the unique setups here in Rhode Island is the town council holds the budget strings per se, but once we give money to the school department, it's theirs to spend. So I like to make sure we go through and investigate every dollar and penny that's being spent or allotted to be spent and make sure that we're spending it as efficiently as possible.
For those who may have not got to know you or just moved to the area over the last couple of years, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been here for 50 years now. Moved here in 1972 with my parents and my 4 brothers and 1 sister. Currently, I have 1 brother still living in here. I'm a proud Portsmouth High School graduate and a URI graduate. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter Isabel is doing fantastic, working up in Boston. She graduated from Bryan University, and my son is in his senior year, Brian, at URI. So I've been here Southern Portsmouth for the first 30 plus years, and here in Northern Portsmouth for 20 plus years.
Excellent. And I believe this is a compliment, which is why I'm going to read it. John says in the comments, Keith is a salt of the earth guy.
Well, I appreciate that, John.
I try to regulate. I make sure I read it right before I read it. There's not something else there. Portsmouth has one of the calmer ballots coming up here. With all the candidates, I've been telling everybody, vote.ri.gov. You can see your sample ballot, find out where to vote. Voting starts tomorrow, early voting, and we are just 3 weeks away from the general election. On the backside, one of a few communities in the states don't have any local questions. It's only 3 state questions.
Yeah, we had the local questions in 2020. Where we had the school bond. We also had the decision whether or not we could lease out the land for the senior center to church community housing. Our charter commission, I believe, is up in 2025 or 4 or 5. So that would be the next time that there'd be some charter changes that might be on there. So at this point, we have no plans for big buildings that we would need a bond question. We have $24 million to be spending as efficiently as possible. I'm on the school building committee trying to make sure that we stay within that $24 million that's been appropriated by the voters to upgrade our schools. And once we get through that, there's really, at this point, not a lot of new buildings. We need to fix what we have right now and maintain our budget as best as possible.
How close are you as a resident of the island or as a town councilor or as a candidate watching what happens with schools down to the south in Middletown and Newport?
I watch it very closely. I'm actually, if the numbers would work, and this is why regionalization becomes very difficult because of teachers' contracts and other legacy costs. I'm a big proponent of actually three regional high schools here in Newport County, where we would have a Newport County, I'm going to call it a regular high school south, and a Newport County regular high school north. And then we really should have a robust program where we have creative arts type programs where I'm blanking on the word, but we need a good vocational high school.
Yeah.
Where we can be teaching our kids some of the trades, unfortunately, of the past, but definitely what they are in the future. Electric Boat has contracts for submarines for the next 20 years, and they need welders tomorrow, yesterday. They need electricians. They need draftspeople. We need, we have an economy in Newport that is built on tourism. We need chefs. We need cooks. We need people who run restaurants and hotels. And all that could be done with a great vocational high school. And unfortunately, we have a nice program down at Rogers, but I think it really needs to be more robust and bring in people from the entire East Bay, from Barrington on down.
You think we'll ever get there? You think the opportunity to ever go with a regional school district for Newport County will ever?
I think this vote on in November in 3 weeks will be a good telltale. One of the things that concerns me about the vote is the timing of it. So Newport's going to go spend $125 million and build a new high school. And then on the flip side, they could decide to regionalize. And now we have a brand new high school out on Ocean Drive where most of the population is going to be closer to Middletown. So
yeah, it's
the timing is odd.
Yeah. And just the last couple of years with the schools, Portsmouth included, have just, if you could move some of those votes or decisions around, you wonder how it would move forward. So,
Exactly.
Portsmouth obviously is already in the cannabis business or allows a cannabis business. It's on the docket for Middletown, Newport. Any takeaways from the experience in Portsmouth that you have shared or you would share with voters in Middletown and Newport?
Well, fortunately for us, with the medical marijuana, Dr. Bach and the Compassion Center have been a pretty good neighbor. We haven't had any issues there. With the expansion to recreational, I think it's probably prudent to move the location just purely for traffic issues. It's not a great in and out location. It'll be interesting to see what type of monetary, bump we get from taxes from the recreational. But in terms of Newport and Middletown, Newport's got it a little bit tougher because they don't have a great area for somebody to come in and out unless they're going to put it in the highlight area, something like that.
Yeah.
Middletown has a lot of commercial areas where they could put something in. It's, for me, going to the recreation, my biggest concern is the kids and easier access to marijuana, but unfortunately they have pretty good access to it now.
It doesn't happen often in New England, but that location in Portsmouth is busier than a Dunkin' Donuts, which is pretty wild.
Right.
What are you hearing during your campaigning this time around? What are the priorities in Portsmouth right now? What are people most concerned about?
Well, obviously the biggest thing is always taxes.
Yeah.
With the economy the way it is and inflation the way it is, everybody's heating bills are going to go up by 40%. Electricity bills are going up by 50 or 60%. Keeping taxes as low as we can while continuing to run the town as efficiently as possible is the biggest issue always. One of the second biggest issues is is the location of that Mayflower turbine cable. And that affects the entire island and not just Portsmouth. The location of that cable, the way it wants to run, goes perpendicular to the only gas supply line that comes on this island. And if that's damaged when they go to put this cable in, 2019 will look like a party, as opposed to the hell that it was for all those residents that lost their gas supply. So that is a huge issue. Effectively running a contract and setting up a contract with Church Community Housing to provide a brand new senior center for Portsmouth and also provide low to moderate income housing for our seniors in Portsmouth. It's getting more and more expensive. COVID did not help the housing situation here in Rhode Island. It forced a lot of people out of Boston and New York. And, when you look at the housing market 3 years ago and the housing market now, the prices are insane. So people are really being forced out of their houses. So those to me are the three big issues.
Over the last couple of weeks, we've been focused on Newport, Middletown. I am just amazed. I don't think there is a single candidate in those two communities who's brought up the wind turbine cable. And I think it is it's bigger than an elephant in the room of what is to come for the islands. And I feel like a lot of people don't know about it.
Well, the other big thing, it's not one cable. There are 7 leases out there, 6 maybe now. There are 6 or 7. And so there's a potential for 6 or 7 cables coming up the Scottish River. The Navy successfully fought going up the East Passage through Narragansett Bay because they don't want it anywhere near the base. Yeah. One group has gone across over to Quonset through Rhode Island Sound, or is working on going in that direction. And who knows what the other groups are going to do. The shortest route is up through Falmouth, and that's been shot down. So it's going to be an ongoing issue.
What do you think the best result for Portsmouth residents is?
Well, we need to make sure that we are working with Mayflower or whoever it happens to be to find the best, most convenient route that's environmentally conscious. We don't want to be tearing things up. We want to make sure also the cable is installed safely. It's my understanding that the ones from Block Island are just laid on the bottom of the ocean floor. These need to be buried. We have commercial fishermen that fish that passage every day, and we need to make sure that their livelihoods are not destroyed. And in terms of the town of Portsmouth, there are ways that the town could benefit from it, whether it's monetarily, in terms of a community host agreement, to help lessen the burden on the residents of Portsmouth. Now, the way the grid works, you see a lot of people saying we're not going to get any energy from this. Energy goes out in the grid and feeds wherever it goes. As we look at things like Brayton Point being shut down, we do need to find alternatives. But unfortunately, a lot of those alternatives, even with the wind power and solar, are more expensive because of the subsidies that come with it. So we need to work as hard as we can for our residents to make sure that we're providing them the best alternative to the lessening fossil fuel ability to create power, to provide them the power that they need.
Yeah, I think it would be a shock to many that we are just a couple of years off from seeing some wind turbines from the island.
Well, you can see them now. If you go across the Newport Bridge, now look out to your left. You can see the ones off of Block Island on a good day. We haven't had one in a couple of days, but
I know. Everything with the senior center. How is that moving forward? Is that all calm and collected these days?
I wouldn't call it calm and collected, but yeah, it's moving along pretty smoothly. Church Community Housing is still working on their funding sources to make sure that they have things lined up. We have still working on a final agreement, which will hopefully come to the new council sometime in the December, early January timeframe. And hopefully in 2024, 2025, we have new senior housing, which is so desperately needed here in Portsmouth and the island for that matter.
Yes. Last time around, 2 years ago, we were talking a lot about and I know it's Rhode Island Department of Transportation, and I ask the senators and representatives whenever I get the opportunity, but I don't think we've gotten any closer to resolving some of the quality of the roads on West Main and East Main. But how are we there?
We are actually getting closer. Director Valvidi is much more approachable than previous directors, and there's definitely a better funding source with the infrastructure plan. I am against the truck tolls. I'm against tolls of any kind. Unfortunately, as we move forward in the future and more people go to electric cars, the gasoline tax goes down. So we have to find different sources of funding. I am hugely against any thought process of going onto a mileage tax where they monitor your car and say, okay, you drove 100 miles last week, so your tax is 25 cents. I'm just making up numbers. But in terms of working with DOT, West Main Road has been done except for Locust out to John Kesson. That should be on the docket for either next year or the following year. East Main Road is scheduled for the end of 23 or the beginning of 24. So they did the patches this year, which unfortunately were a huge improvement, even though they were just patches. And then Sprague Street, which is another state road, is on the docket, I believe, for 2024 as well, which would be repaving and then also a sidewalk up the northern side. So we're getting there. The wheels of RIDOT move slowly, but back in July of last year, I attended the TIP meeting and put together a pretty large presentation and sent it off to RIDOT and the Statewide Planning Commission that I believe led to the patches that we see and the repairs that were done on East Main Road.
Excellent. This is kind of editorializing a little bit, but chatting with all of these candidates from Middletown, Portsmouth, Newport, there are a lot of the same concerns. Do you think there's the opportunity to get these governments together a little bit more and try to come up with island-wide solutions?
Oh, I believe so. I mean, the hard part is here in Portsmouth. I mean, we're a bedroom community. We don't have a lot of commercial base. Our biggest commercial partner is Raytheon, and with any luck, they're going to get some new contracts and grow down there, which I believe is already happening. But hopefully, they continue to grow and bring in more jobs. But we're basically a pass-through community. So people are driving through Portsmouth to get to Newport. We need to work together to find solutions to help grow the entire community. We're all tied together. So if there are issues with the roads here in Portsmouth with the state, guess what? People, the first thing they see when they come off the Seconic River Bridge from Boston are bad roads on East Main Road and West Main Road. Yeah. And if that's their first impression, that's bad.
What's something that you are proud of that's been accomplished by Portsmouth Town Council over the last couple of years?
I mean, the biggest things, definitely getting roads fixed. We continue to maintain our roads here in Portsmouth. We started at $1 million because of some budget issues. We went down to 800,000. We're back up to 850. We continue to upgrade our roads. The school bond is a huge issue. Our buildings are getting better. Some of the other things, I mean, I think the senior center is going to be a great bonus and benefit to the town. I know it has its detractors. It has its folks who don't believe that it's the best option for the town, but I believe in the long run it will be.
What do you think? Anything over the last couple of years that you would have, if you had your way, and as the only Republican on the Portsmouth Town Council, would you like to have seen a vote or decision go a different way?
The only thing for me was I believe the school budget was a little bit high. I would have liked to have seen that come in a little bit lower. We have seen the school department over the past 6-7 years have pretty large surpluses. Even on the town-wide, we could have done a little bit better job for seeing the large increase that we got in terms of real estate transfers, because as I mentioned earlier, that the folks coming up from New York buying houses sight unseen for $50, $60, $70, $80,000 over asking price really drove our real estate transfer fees, which led to a sizable increase over the past few years. So, I mean, we could have tightened things up in the budget a little bit, but in reality, the surpluses go into our general fund, and that operating fund needs to be 16% of our budget by government accounting principles, and we're only at 12% right now. So those surpluses are going to help provide a safety net for the town of Portsmouth. So when things happen like Fairview Lane, we have the ability to react and fix it. We had a great corporate partner in East Coast Construction that was there that morning, and within 12 hours had the road back open again. And we were able to absorb that in the budget without having to go into the rainy day fund.
Excellent. I'm going to see if I can make this a question, but I think a lot of people might be spending a lot more time in Portsmouth these days, thanks to businesses like Ragged Island Brewing Company, who I think have done a fabulous job up there. How do you, it is a farm pasture community, a bed community. How do you continue to build that commercial base to bring good businesses to Portsmouth?
Well, I think Ragged Island and what Matt and Katie have done there is a perfect example of marrying business and community together. I mean, if you go out there and just sit on the deck and watch the sunset and have a beer, it's a phenomenal setting. Bringing businesses like that, we have a new business opening. Well, they're open now, but we have a grand opening of Rhode Island Counseling Center, which is a new wellness and yoga center. Bringing in businesses like that are low impact. The biggest issue we have in Portsmouth is we don't have sewers. So we can't have a McDonald's or a Burger King, nor do I want a McDonald's or a Burger King. I'm happy with our half a dozen pizza places that are all great, but bringing in low impact businesses like Ragged Island is a great step forward. Working with Raytheon to hopefully build their base and see them expand, and work with our federal partners to get them more contracts so that they can expand the business and bring in better jobs to Rhode Island is another great way. But in terms of growing business in Portsmouth, the best thing that anybody can do here in Portsmouth is go to those businesses. Go down to Island Park, which is becoming a fantastic community again, and visit all those fantastic restaurants. The Blue Anchor, Tremblay's, Locals, 15 Point Road, Thrive. Every time you go and visit those restaurants and have a meal, a portion of that meal goes to help offset your taxes in Portsmouth, because 1% goes back to town of Portsmouth. So before you get in your car and drive down to Middletown to go to Chili's or go down to Newport and go to one of their great restaurants, think about going to one of our great restaurants in Portsmouth.
Excellent. What do you think the people most understood thing about Portsmouth or Portsmouth Town Council?
Misunderstood or understood?
Misunderstood.
I think the biggest misunderstood thing is that everything's done behind the scenes. There's no transparency. It's always the town. I'm still dumbfounded after 14 years how people think that the Portsmouth Town Council's doing backroom deals to make money for themselves. We are I believe, the lowest paid town council in the state. I have been on the town council for 14 years, and each year, other than my 4 years as president, made $1,200 a year, which comes out to $21 a week. I'm still dumbfounded to see how people are making money. You don't get rich being a town councilor. I can guarantee you that. So for those who believe that there are backroom deals and people have their hands out, getting a brown envelope with cash in it, it just doesn't happen. What you see at the town council, we spent over $100,000 to put one of the best video systems in the state in our town council chambers so we can live stream every event. So there's no place to hide.
Which, by the way, I might be wrong here, but I think you were the first town hall on the island who did that. I think your videos your meetings and what you do have been available to the public virtually longer than anybody else that I can remember.
Well, I think we had a great partner in the PCC who started videotaping back in, I think, 2006, videotaping the meetings and getting them up online. We have now, as a town entity, taken that over, and now it's virtual and it's live streamed and it's right up on the web, so anybody can see it anywhere, which is great.
You brought up the pay, and that is a often misunderstanding where people think that every politician, whether it's a school committee all the way up to the president of the United States, is somehow doing these backroom deals, which I believe they're not. It's tons of hours, tons of volunteering. What gives you the greatest joy? What makes you keep saying that I can do this 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, answer phone calls 24/7, things like that?
Well, it's just, I got into it to try and keep the town of Portsmouth the way the town of Portsmouth used to be. I mean, I used to be a paper boy and ride my bike back and forth across East Main Road to deliver papers. I wouldn't do that in any stretch of the imagination now because of the traffic loads. But, trying to maintain that wonderful community where we have those farms, when you're going down East Main Road is why I get involved in it and why I do it. I have an 83-year-old mother who I want to keep in town for, as long as she's living. And I want everybody else to be able to afford that as well. So it takes some work. My door is always open for people who want to call or text or email.
You think you've been successful with your goal of why you got into it?
For the most part. I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of pressures out there. When you look at some of the larger property holders, there's a lot of pressure on them to sell out, especially over the past, 3 years, to sell out that land and put in a housing tract. So it's a strain, and it's a strain on the entire community. We have water issues because we, only have a limited supply of water. We have school issues because we only have 4 school buildings in town. So it's a balance. It's tough. And we've also had the issue of, being cut state funding. When I started, we were getting roughly $6 million in state funding, and now we're down to about $2 million. So, those are some of the reasons why our taxes go up, is because we keep getting cut from the State House.
What is a way that Portsmouth residents or voters can support the efforts of Portsmouth Town Council?
Just be involved. Last week we had a discussion of curbside pickup for the transfer station or the transfer station. And it was just an exercise in order to see what is going to be the most cost effective going forward in the future. And my goal would be to eventually get everybody to have curbside pickup and have it back in your taxes, so that, your pickup day is Tuesday, you wheel out your stuff on Tuesday morning or Monday night. And then if we can have a hybrid where your bulky stuff is delivered to a transfer station, that would be even better. The transfer station has outlived its usefulness, but people love it because of the convenience. And I'm a transfer station user, and I love it for the convenience. I could leave here right now and throw my stuff in my car and drive it up there and dump it. Actually, I probably will, but since I'm, but it's just getting involved. We had a full town council chamber because the word on the street was we were voting to close the transfer station, which was the furthest from the truth. We tasked the administrator to go out and find an alternative to see how it would work against the current transfer station. I mean, the transfer station model works. If there's one person who wants to spend $680,000 a year to get their trash taken out, the transfer station model works. And the problem is that we've seen a steady decline of the number of people using it, so it's becoming more expensive. But as long as there's 2,000 or 3,000 people who want to use the transfer station, we can keep it open.
Yeah, that is just one of the issues that is so much different than when we talk about Middletown and Newport, because residents and taxpayers down there might not know that people either need to bring their trash to the transfer station or hire a third-party contractor to come pick up their trash.
But Middletown's the same. So Middletown has 2 programs. They have their pay-as-you-go throw bags and $141 to have your barrels outside, or you pay an outside company to come pick it up.
Yeah.
And it's a choice people make. And that outside companies now are anywhere from $550 to $800 to pick up your trash.
Yeah. And
the transfer station, if you manage it properly and you don't have a lot of trash, I spend probably about $250 a year, outside of, quote, my time, to drive up there. But with the less people there, I could literally leave right now, put my trash in my car, drive up there, and be back here in about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Keith, one of 12 for 7 seats. Why should people fill out the bubble next to your name once again?
Well, I hope that over the past 14 years, I've shown people that I have open and honest conversations. I do my homework. I make sure that I'm looking at I think I'm the only counselor on the island that has brought up the concern of the wind turbine cable going over the gas supply. And I know people want us to get away from fossil fuels, but gas isn't going away on this island. And with the electric rates going the way they are, it's becoming more and more expensive to put in heat pumps. So we need to find a balance and a solution for everything, and be able to have that open mind and not be have blinders on that we need to have multiple solutions in order to keep this island functioning properly. I think I bring that open mind and the analytical skills to investigate and do the homework, and especially when it comes to the budget, to find those ways that we can save some money.
Put you on the spot a little bit here. Where can people follow or make their voice heard or find out more information about this entire wind turbine cable project? Is it just a Portsmouth Town Council issue right now, or should they be bringing it to their own council on the island?
No, well, I think they should be bringing it to their own council. I had a conversation with Mayor Napolitano a couple of weeks ago and said, this is an issue for you as well.
She just
that same,
yeah. So that might be why.
So there are people definitely should bring it to the town council. They should be reaching out to their state representatives. They should be reaching out or writing letters to the Energy Facility Siting Board, which is a group of unelected folks up in Providence who make this decision. Regardless of what Portsmouth says, the Energy Facility Siting Board could just say, hey, we're putting it in no matter what. It's the same issue we have at Old Mill Lane with the natural gas mobilization that they do every winter. They throw a half a dozen to a dozen 10,000-gallon tankers down there just in case there's another drop in pressure. That's not a sustainable solution for gas use on this island.
And I hate to spread what I heard, but I'm going to do it here. Did I hear that? I know there was efforts to move that. Have I heard correctly that they were trying to make that keep it permanently there?
I think Rhode Island Energy would like to keep it permanently there. Yeah. They are looking at ways of pushing it back further from the road. We definitely have to work and make sure that we're keeping the residents of that area safe. There is, I believe, a push by Rhode Island Energy now to potentially buy up some of the properties around there. I'm a proponent of bringing another gas pipeline onto the island. There should be another one here at the northern end that creates a loop so that we don't have these drop in pressures. It's just simple physics of gas supply.
Excellent. There are many things you said today is why people should be getting involved in their local government, as well as attending meetings, watching agendas, asking questions, sharing their opinion. Now's you got to do it early because too often people jump onto it and share it when the decision's been already made. So absolutely,
it's you have to keep an eye on everything, and it's not easy. It's every other Thursday, the agenda comes out for the town council. If you have a concern, just pick up the phone and call. My phone's right here. I carry it wherever I go. I only have one phone number. So if people want to call, text, or email me, I'm here and I'm available. And unless I'm with a customer or engaged in something else, I answer the phone or I'll call you back.
And Portsmouth does a good job as well. You can sign up for alerts. You can get the agenda emailed right to you.
Absolutely.
As well as meeting minutes, so they make it as easily as possible without going to drive to your house, picking you up and bringing you to the meeting. So you got to make a little bit of effort, but you can at least keep an eye on what they're doing and what they're talking about by signing up for those alerts. Keith, was there anything else that we did not get to today?
I don't believe so. The biggest thing for me is if people have a question or they have a concern, I love social media. It's wonderful. But don't believe everything you read on social media or see on social media. Pick up the phone and call somebody and ask them a question. Say, hey, I saw this. Just like you just said. Hey, I heard this. Is it true? It's potentially true. And I think we as a community need to make sure that we work with the Energy Facility Siting Board to make it not true. We need to relocate that. And like I said, my best solution is to bring a pipeline in. But until you pick up the phone or send an email and ask the questions, make sure you're getting your information from multiple sources and just not one.
That's it. Keith, thanks for joining us today, and I hope to see you soon, and best of luck over the next couple of weeks.
Ryan, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
All right. That is Keith Hamilton, incumbent on Portsmouth Town Council, seeking your vote re-election over the next couple of weeks. And he is one of 12 candidates vying for the 7 seats on Portsmouth Town Council. If you missed a portion of this video, want to watch it again, want to share it with somebody, available on whatsupnoop.com. Thanks for watching.